Chapter 338. Rescued from the Sword of Islam, Part 4. The retrial of Rayhana Khan took place shortly after the Jeddah Sharia court dealt with the case of her daughter. Unfortunately, the confession of Sabir Ibrahim Shah did not convince the Islamic court to invalidate the marriage contract between Sheikh Ahmed and his Indian child bride, Ifat Khan. The 5 Islamic judges rejected Sabir's statement against his Saudi employer on the grounds that he took part on the marriage contract and volunteered himself to be the wali of Ifat. He took care of the wife in question for 3 years. Therefore, he was considered a shahud zohar, false witness. He was charged as a false testifier and slanderer who presented to the court oral communication of false confession that injurious to a Muslim's reputation. He was also convicted of providing a false and malicious statement about his Saudi employer Sheikh Ahmed. According to the Quran, if a person gave a false statement about someone, he would be given 80 stripes and his testimony would never be accepted again. As was written in the laws of the country, Sabir Ibrahim Shah was sentenced to 80 whiplashes. In addition, the court ordered that he be deported back to his country of origin after sentencing. The court also banned him from visiting Saudi Arabia ever again, even if it was to perform the Islamic pilgrimage, the Hajj, in the holy cities of Mecca and Medina, go around the house of Allah, and stone the accursed Satan. Anyway, after sentencing Sabir, the court ruled in the favor of Sheikh Ahmed. His marriage to the Indian female child was considered valid and did not violate the Islamic Sharia law in any way. In accordance, the court issued a verdict that the husband Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed should be allowed to take his Indian wife Ifat Khan to another Muslim country of his own choice and continue his married life with her. The trial of the child bride and the old Saudi man had given the CIA team incidental clues that they were looking in solving Rayhana problem. First of all, they got a copy of the medical certificate that Sheikh Ahmed presented at the Sharia court to prove that his Pakistani chauffeur had been medically castrated. This certificate would be critical in Rayhana's defense. It would prove to the court that the second marriage of Rayhana was based on deception and hence it was illegal before the law. It would also prove that the marriage was never consummated. There was still the danger that the court might still convict her of having an illegitimate child. They learned that the medical pregnancy test showed that the Indian maidservant was 8 weeks pregnant before she got married to the Pakistani chauffeur of her employer. Obviously, based on the same medical report, the 2 sons of the Sheikh could not have fathered her child. They were inclined to believe Rayhana's story. She was pregnant because she was raped by the 2 Saudi police officers upon her arrival in Saudi Arabia. For that reason, the CIA team decided to search for the Bedouin family that rescued Rayhana's life when the 2 Saudi policemen brutally raped her and attempted to murder her. That would convince the court that Rayhana got impregnated through rape and not adultery. Accordingly, the team employed 15 young Arab men and began their search around the outskirts of Jeddah city. The search was difficult due to the huge numbers of the Bedouin tents that encircling the city like a rainbow around the sun. The team members knew that if they did not find and present that Bedouin family at the retrial, Rayhana Khan would be stoned to death. In their search, the CIA team members used some of Rayhana's photos that they collected from the newspapers and magazines, which included articles about her simultaneous marriages. After 2 weeks of intensive searching, the Bedouin family was found near a small suburb at the outskirts to the east of Jeddah city. The kind Bedouin parents identified Rayhana's photos and narrated the entire story of her discovery and rescue. They began from the time they spotted the small daughter walking all alone in a lonely rough road. At first, they thought that she was a satanic creature who came to attack them. Therefore, they decided to beat her up if she came to their tent. The wife told her husband to read the verse of the throne first before he would attack the little female creature and kill her. The Bedouin woman told her husband that if the creature would not disappear after hearing the verse of the throne, then he shouldn't attack and kill her. In that way, the Bedouin man said he came to know the female creature was a human being because she did not vanish after he read loudly the verse of the throne from the Quran. Then, the Bedouins narrated how the little girl directed them to the place where her mother lay half dead in the desert. When they reached her place, they found the mother was half naked because her rapists had torn her clothes. They carried her on their shoulders and brought her to their tent. Her body was full of cuts and bruises. The Bedouin woman narrated how she used Dettol and hot water to treat her wounds. Then, she used cold water to revive her. Whatever the Bedouins said was videotaped by the CIA team. The Bedouins mentioned that Rayhana and her daughter spent 1 month with them. After 1 month, the mother requested the Bedouin man to take her to the city. Then, the Bedouins said that they took the mother and her daughters on donkeys and rode them to the nearest suburb and left them in front of a supermarket. The last time they saw them was in the place they had left them. The statements of the Bedouin family were considered by the CIA team as concrete good evidence that Rayhana was kidnapped, beaten, and raped. The Bedouins did not see who raped and attempted to murder her. The Sharia court might accept the witness of the Bedouin family about the kidnap and murder attempt, but it might reject the claim that Rayhana was raped and subsequently impregnated. To solidify their case, the CIA team tried to confirm that the 2 Saudi policemen who took Rayhana from the Jeddah International Airport were the ones who in fact had kidnapped, raped, and attempted to kill her. If that missing piece of information were established, then the 2 culprits would be found and punished. The CIA team went to the Saudi Airlines and demanded to know what had happened to the 2 Indian passengers who managed to enter the Saudi plane and traveled from Bombay to Jeddah without their passports. The airline's office found the report of the Saudi plane that brought Rayhana and her daughter from Bombay to Jeddah. The report showed that 2 Indian passengers by the names of Rayhana Khan and Ifat Khan had boarded the Saudi plane without their passports. It also mentioned that the 2 passengers were handed over to the airport police. Based on the report, the CIA team approached the Jeddah International Airport and confirmed the arrest of the 2 Indian passengers who arrived from Bombay without their passports. The team got an official copy of the Jeddah International Airport and added it to its files. Then the team approached the airport police and demanded to know what they did with the 2 arrested Indians who arrived without their passports. The airport police confirmed the arrest and gave the names of the 2 police officers who came and took the Indian woman and her daughter to the Jeddah Women's Jail. Before informing the police authority about the 2 policemen who raped Rayhana and dumped her unconscious body on the desert, the CIA team decided to confirm that the 2 arrested Indian passengers were not taken to the jail. Wherefore, after collating evidence from the 3 sources, the Saudi Airlines, the Jeddah International Airport, and the airport police, the CIA team approached the Women's Central Prison and confirmed that the 2 arrested Indian passengers who arrived in the country without passports were never received as inmates. Once more, the team did not approach the Jeddah police to demand the arrest of the 2 Saudi policemen. The CIA team submitted the results of their investigations to the royal family. It was to the royals that they made their demand that the 2 Saudi policemen should be arrested and DNA paternity tests to be conducted on them and the child of the imprisoned Indian woman, Rayhana Khan. Although, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia usually would not use a DNA test in deciding over adultery and other immoral crimes, still the royal family issued a decree for the detention of the 2 policemen and gave their consent for the DNA paternity test. A special medical team was brought from the UK to conduct the test. The results of the DNA paternity tests confirmed that one of the 2 policemen had fathered the boy of Rayhana Khan. Confronted with overwhelming odds, the 2 Saudi policemen confessed that they had kidnapped and raped the Indian woman on the day of her arrival in Jeddah and had left her and her daughter in the desert and returned to the city. As soon as the 2 culprits confessed their crimes and the DNA tests proved that the Indian maidservant had been raped, the royal family issued a second decree and cancelled the scheduled retrial of Rayhana Khan. The decree ordered the immediate release of the Indian woman with honor. The King of Saudi Arabia decreed that Rayhana Khan should be compensated with a sum of 3,750,000 Saudi riyals. It was a huge amount of money, which equivalent to $1 million US, 45 million Indian rupees. In India, that amount was called 4 crores and 50 lakhs, 45 million rupees. If Rayhana would work for 1,000 years as a maidservant in India, she would not make 1% of that huge amount of money. Even if her former Saudi sponsor would have employed her as his maidservant for 100 years, she would not make 10% of what the Saudi government had given her as compensation for the evils that had been done to her. Although she was released with honor and her life snatched away from the jaws of death, rescued from the sword of Islam, and paid a huge amount of money in compensation, Rayhana's heart was sad. She was devastated when she came to know that her little daughter was forced into marrying the old Saudi man who had impregnated her while she was only 11 years old. She cried and begged the royal family to intervene and release her small daughter from the old man, but her tears and pleadings fell on stony hearts. She was told that no power or authority on earth could release her daughter from her lawful Saudi man except if he willingly would agree to divorce her without coercion. The CIA team members understood that they had not completed their mission successfully. They could not convince the Sharia court that Sheikh Ahmed had killed the wife of the son of the Senator Peter Thomason. They also could not able to invalidate the marriage contract of the old man and the little Indian slum girl. They failed to force the Islamic court to convict Sheikh Ahmed of kidnapping, raping, and imprisoning a minor female child. Nonetheless, they felt that they had achieved a considerable victory by stopping the stoning of an innocent Indian woman from the slums. On the same day Rayhana Khan took an Air Indian plane and flew back to her homeland. The 7 members of the CIA team boarded their plane and began their trip to the United States of America. They felt that as if they were flying away from a backward 7th-century Muslim society in the Sahara to an advanced and free society within the greatest country of the 21st century.